badness out of style. Go tell the liquor school youth when I want no delinquent juvenile. Badness out of style. And all the rude boys with the school face are full time, them put on a smile. Badness out of style. And all Nelson loving John and Picton man them a go on cool. I'll have man them link up. Bring back the love you see it. That's right. Wow. Say too much borderline. Man and man fear to walk down in the next man vicinity. It's borderline. Why all the Satan wickedness in the poor man community? It's borderline. Say man and man fear to walk down in the next man vicinity. It's borderline. Why the Satan wickedness in the poor man community? So you say that you're a bad man. How much gun you got? You love to bust gunshot. Well, I say you must be mad, man. No one have time for that. You're an idiot. And let me hear it from the voices in the ghetto. Badness out of style. Sing it again and let me hear it echo. Badness out of style. Don't want no bad man groups. No more bad man troops coming to rob and shoot. We should be taking time to nurture the youth. Tell you remember we're going with Sean Luke. Somebody cross the borderline. No man and man fear to walk down in the next man vicinity. It's borderline. Why all the Satan wickedness in the poor man community? It's borderline. Man and man fear to walk down in the next man vicinity. It's borderline. Why all the Satan wickedness in the poor man communities? Tell the youth in the go Martin when they should be asleep. Stop roaming to murder man. And in the hills of Maraval, since they murder Malik, everything get out of hand. Now let me hear it from the voices in the ghetto. Badness out of style, say it again and let me hear it echo. Badness out of style. I see them with them attic. Every day them a chuck it. Some have it in them pocket, while some of them under them jacket. If a shadow move them crack it, the breeze blow them shot it. A full time them stop it. Too much a borderline. Well, man and man fear to walk down in the next man vicinity. It's borderline. Why all the Satan wickedness in the poor man community? It's borderline. Well, man and man fear to walk down in the next man vicinity. It's borderline. Too much hate and wickedness in the poor man community. Well, put the front page in the paper from Sando to Arima. Make sure every man get one. And tell the youth them in La Hakita, put down the automatic car. We no want no more blood run. And let me hear it from the people in the ghetto. Badness out the style. Sing it again and let me hear it echo. Badness out the style. Tell the youth them on the beat, all of them were acting wild. Badness out the style. Tell the youth them over Brooklyn, keep them name of a policeman file. Badness out the style. Go tell the liquor school youth when I want no delinquent juvenile. Badness out the style. And all the rude boys with the school face are full time, them put on a smile. Badness out the style.
Yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry, east, west, north, south, central, in Trinidad, or friends in Tobago, and wherever you are streaming on the World Wide Web. A pleasant good day to you. Yes, last night, of course, we were absolutely and, absolutely consumed with, of course, the practical realities that is the East-West corridor in particular, and by extension, Trinidad and Tobago, in terms of violence, in terms of some of the measures that would have been taken, whether advertently or inadvertently, to exacerbate the situation sociologically, culturally, psychologically. And of course, we talked about the compounding of the problem by the presence today, as we speak, of over 13,000 young persons permanently exiting the secondary system. And therefore, we cannot, as a people, as a community, only focus on what the reality is. We have to look at if the reality, for example, is not concomitant or is not consistent with visible improvement and potential improvement and prospective improvement, then we have to look at solutions. We have to look at solutions in a very microscopic as well as macro level in order to treat with the situation. You see, I was reading an article today, early this morning, where in Jamaica, for example, the Supreme Court in Jamaica considered sub 17 of the various SOE that they would have implemented there was unconstitutional. Let me repeat, unconstitutional. Let me see if I could get Mr. COP in one time in order to treat with some of the issues that we will be sharing with you tonight. Because this problem of young people, delinquency, violence, and all of the other things, I think, associated with young people either unable to express themselves one way or another positively in the society, and having regard to some of the things we talked about last night, that would be a hindrance. Let's go straight. Let me see if I can let me get Mr. COP in first, and then we will move from there. But it is critical that we understand what we are dealing with, and I think last night we gave a fair, let's say, analysis of the situation in Trinidad and Tobago among our young people in particular, and that of the society, and specifically the East-West corridor, as a unique place that has to be with matters that has to be addressed. Let me just get Mr. COP in on the discussion, and then of course we will continue. This he's drinking a little water there. He know tonight going to be a hectic one, so he has to sort of moisten his vocal cords, so to speak. So here he is. Yes, he's in here. Let me just make sure that he is positioned properly, just so he can make his contribution. Last night I thought the young lady that was on, I think she was scintillating. I think she made a very valid and, of course, what I consider to be sterling contribution to the discourse last night, and I see no reason why. Yes, let me make sure that is the case. All right. Oh, all right, good. So he is here. Let me just make sure that everything is all right. All right. So, but before I continue, let me just make certain that the mic is working and everything is in place, because KFC did say that we sounding like quasi or semi-robots. So let me make sure that doesn't happen tonight as we deal with tonight's program. I want to say I did in fact look over last night's program, because I like to do that where there may be little kinks in the armor, so to speak. And I hope tonight we are able to flesh out the problems with the phone. I hope that, to God, that is so. But let me hear Mr. COP, my co-host, before we move on. A pleasant good night to you, sir.
Good night to you, lENNOX, and to all the listeners and viewers of the Corridor Transformation.
Songing good.
Good night, and welcome. And
Yes,
thanks for welcoming us into, because many of them listening in the bedroom, they lie down in the bed, they listen, they lie down in the couch, they listen. Thank you for welcoming us, the Corridor Transformation, into your home.
Go ahead.
lENNOX, I agree with you 100%. There is too much young people going astray in this country, and it must have leaders to hold the bull by its horn and say, no, this have to stop. I see in the year 2025, we have an administration, the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, must hold that bull by the horn and say, hey, accountability must be prevail. Too much young guys, too much young women, too much young people going astray. um, depression, low self-esteem, anxiety, all these things, and it just taken away the future of this country. That's why we really like this. That's why the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago really in this position today. No leaders never for the past over 100 years. Well, I'm not blaming the colonial masters on them. From 1956 to now, no leaders never really take control and say, hey, I can remember it have countries that in communities, when three young guys there, leaders hold that bull by the horn and say, hey, no, start a whole police officers who responsible for those districts and them, hold them accountable. And this government have to hold that bull by the horn. Let me say it franco, a female without balls, hold that bull by the horn and ensure that we have accountability and transparency. This country, as a rich country like this, a country that have so much and very few for the people, and only people only dying and losing their life and going astray. Lennox, what kind of country this is? The Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. If we put all the Caribbean islands GDP together, understand what I'm saying? Trinidad and Tobago and listeners of the Corridor Transformation. If we put all the Caribbean islands GDP together, it will reach Trinidad and Tobago GDP. You put all of them together, it will reach $60 billion. We have that here. It's time to put that money to use.
And I agree with you, my friend, and I like that intellectual level that you have taken in the early stage of this discussion at a level that I hope that many will not be too, what I consider to be intimidated by the level at which we want to go. Because we have to go at the highest level simply because we have a country, or should I say a segment of the society to save. And therefore, all hands on board in terms of getting there. We will have to discuss, my friend, clearly what is in place and what has not been put in place. And indeed, what can be improved if there is something in place that designed to treat with this particular problem and to, of course, save Trinidad and Tobago by extension. I was making the point earlier that I read a particular report out of the Inter-American Commission for Human Rights. Very early this morning, a very voluminous document, but I think it was relevant to what we discussed last night, and fate will have it. You know, the Lord moves in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. And while, of course, I was not privy to that particular document, but it just landed in my lap, so to speak, in general, of course, generally looking and perusing the newspapers and other pieces of material. It just appeared. And it tells me that we are really on a mission to save. We are on a mission that it may be called, of course, Moses. What Moses was given to do and tasked with by the Almighty. And in Trinidad and the present time, I think we can say that we are not the Messiah, but certainly we are individuals who care so much that we would take our own resources to produce a program like this almost every night of the week in order to, of course, highlight and hopefully that some of it, if not all of it, will reach those who really hold the purse strings of the country and can make the necessary investment. You see, I have often said that there is something called psychological and social capital. Capital, of course, referring to money here. Money, fiscal matters, things of a fiscal nature, money nature. And I've often said that there is a need for greater focus and maybe more meticulous and more efficient and more cost-effective ways of looking at the investment called social and psychological capital. What does that mean? It means that the money or the capital, whether it be in this case actual funds, but everything requires money, but I want to say actual funds, people input in terms of human resource and in terms of the apart from the strategy, but certainly the material that is required in order to make certain that you make an investment that will cause the society to be one of peace, security, prosperity, and advancement. In short, psychological and social capital refers to the investment a society must make in order to keep the peace, in order to generate the reduction in violence, in order to make certain that we can work in peace, live in peace, and prosper in peace and security. That is what it really means. Social and psychological capital. If you have to take away anything tonight, listeners and those who are tuning in at this point in time, then remember the term social and psychological capital. The money, the resources, in other words, that must be invested by a society in order to keep the peace. And money here is not limited to the government per se, but all of us, the private sector, the NGOs, CBOs, and the general social intervention, let's say, elements of the society. And we can go on and on in terms of persons volunteering their own expertise in order to address this problem, because that is where we will be going whole night tonight until, of course, 9:30. So I just want to lay the foundation. If you have anything else to add at this point in time, as your thoughts begin to gather, my good friend COP, and you realize and recognize where we are going in terms of solutions tonight. Last night, we identified the problem. We did the diagnosis. Tonight, of course, is prescriptive, if you have to use a medical term. Yes, man.
That's a hypothetical word.
Yes, man. We're going there. Yes, man.
But Leonard Smith, to get those successful officials and elected government officials, once they do their job and understand what is representation, what they have a constitutional responsibility to do, because them don't have the constitutional responsibility the MPs and them have is to represent the people and them. Goods and services, to educate the population of the country, to create opportunities for the citizens of the country, and to secure the country. And once they do those three things, that is the constitutional responsibility, Lennox Smith, and listeners and viewers of the Corridor Transformation. And as long as I see it happening with this administration, and once they do the job, you see what Philip starting to do by going to all the effective community, those studies, who didn't fix it? By going to the effective community, and many other ministers and them do that job and fulfill the promises. Don't just go in the community and for news and media purpose. Go in the community and see the destruction and find the solution. And that is the responsibility they have.
Yes, my friend. As we said, it is a multi-pronged approach, because the problem is multifaceted, multidimensional, and therefore there must be, I don't call it all of government approach, but I call it all of community approach, where the government will have to play its part and role as we see it, and as necessary. And then, of course, we also have the private sector, the businessmen and the business community. It cannot be tokenism.
lENNOX
Tokenism
Smith,
has
lENNOX
gone out the
Smith,
window. Go ahead.
Lennox,
Go ahead.
the community could never be successful without the support of the government. If given the opportunity in life, success will come. The denial of opportunity is we have them in that predicament. The denial of opportunity is what have communities in this predicament today.
Right, and therefore, the all of community approach that includes the government, let me repeat, that includes the government, but the fact is that because we, the families, all right, let me start from the granular. We, the individuals that make up the families, that make up the neighborhood, that make up the village, that makes up each village in turn, the regional corporations and municipalities, and all of them together making up Trinidad and Tobago. That is where we are going. And I'm saying that because the granular, the basic, is the individual that is born into a family, and the families make up neighborhoods. Each one at that level must now play their part and be conscious of their role and responsibility, which includes the responsibility of the state, the government, playing its part in terms of facilitating. And let me.
The government classify the government as the role model to the community.
Yeah, because it is critical that because the community doesn't have the capital I'm talking about. The community doesn't have it, but what it has is what they call in business institutional knowledge, meaning that they know the community. I remember testifying at the Las Alturas Commission of Inquiry, and I went there as a member of the community and a concerned activist in the interest of and talking on behalf of the community. And I told them in no uncertain terms that we told all the big-time engineers and all the well-resourced representative of HDC that land that they are constructing those buildings that eventually sunk and broke up into pieces and form part now of the geology of that area was moving for a very long time. We told them that people tried to build houses there and they have been moved away by the earth moving. Let me just try the system and see. If not, COP, I will have to use the phone. But let me try the system and see. A pleasant good night. Welcome. COP, you'll tell me if you're hearing or not. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Pleasant good night, Uncle Lennox.
A pleasant good night to you, my friend. COP, are you hearing?
No, I'm not hearing.
You're not hearing. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah. I want to advise on something with regards to that situation with the redundancy of the work and the maintenance of the community in a way.
All right.
Right? This thing real serious.
All right.
I want to give my advice on which one of the agencies responsible for the maintenance of the river courses and them, and the maintenance of the side roads and them, not the main road.
I hear you.
Because
off the cuff, we have, of course, some drains that is the responsibility of the Ministry of Works, which is the major drains. All of the side roads and the minor drains and so on usually come under the purview of the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development in this iteration of governance in Trinidad and Tobago today. So that's the straightforward answer to the question that you would have asked.
So right into the chairman of the corporation is the right direction or
yes, because they will be able to tell you. Take for instance, I don't expect the Dry River to fall into the purview of the Port of Spain Corporation, for example, even though of course that is nestled there. You will have the Ministry of Works, of course, doing remedial work there. So you could distinguish from major drains as opposed to minor drains, and from that perspective and understanding that, you will know how to direct your inquiries or your concerns as a burgess or as a citizen of this country.
Uncle, let us
Hey.
something that this situation I highlight here. What only lead state and the community at the only what's to the Puna Corporation, to the Puna Piaco Regional Corporation. Uncle, let us say what telling you.
Go ahead.
On the next river, the Morang River, elephant grass about 12 feet tall in the river. You know?
Right. So you may well be advised to communicate both agencies, the Ministry of Works, which of course is led by Minister jULY John, and out of an abundance of caution, because they may have some responsibility for cutting the grass, and I don't know if it will go as far as desilting, because I don't know if they have the equipment, etc. But certainly, you probably could create a situation where they cooperatively work in order to address that problem.
Well, meaning I'll have to carbon copy the local government minister and the Ministry of Works, so in case anyone of the public.
That's right.
Or
they may decide to come together and address that problem.
Whatever is going on, right? I want to address this. I want to send a strong signal to this individual, whoever this individual is, because I want to give you a timeline. I leave him an email and I want to give him a timeline. I don't want to respond. What I want to see is within 7 days, they said the same people that deal with this thing. I don't want to hear them talk. I don't respond, no email and anything. I want to see 7 days, or if not within 7 days, he don't act. We petition him.
Very good.
Do our next letter, because the 2 videos were sent here.
Yeah.
If he don't respond in 2 videos are sent here,
yes,
post them on YouTube.
Okay. And that's what you do. Yeah. Once you are conscientious of your civil duty and responsibility, people like you take it upon themselves, like we have, COP and myself. Yeah, COP and myself, COP and myself have done that. This is what we are doing, and by virtue of that, you are able to express yourself, and of course reach those who may be responsible for what you are concerned with there. But I will play them tomorrow night.
Uncle lENNOX and Mr. COP and all the listeners on the program tonight. Tunapuna Corporation, let me tell you something. All who know the St. Joseph Secondary School over the Boston, behind the Valsin Waterworks, right? The new school, what Ms. Kamala had built back in 2010, between 2010 and 2015, when the former government leave, right, abandoned, because of abandoning. Right, and the corporate, nobody in the corporation, NCH to go and clean around that school. Who you want to go and clean the school? The resident of Bangladesh? That alone to show you how redundant it is.
Yeah.
That alone could show you how, and all the ministers and them passing up and down the bus route, and nobody authorities say, but hey, what should them try them walking down the side of that bush on the playground and the edge of that bush of going to school? What should that, if not heartbreaking, they say, boy? If not heartbreaking, they say, boy?
I could well
and what's
imagine.
the next video I'm making, I'm going to flame with the linemen. The two that put up corporation workers of Africa video with the linemen. Yeah.
Shame them into action. Yes.
I read for them. If the two everything.
Yeah, you have to use shaming as well. That is a strategy.
But the whole Maraca Royal Road is bush for the whole road. You know what they was doing? As the CPEP established, the workers at the place Saga boy. Nobody cutting bush again. So everybody's put on work and fight part. Nobody cutting bush again. So when the CPEP thing now, the field alright, that was CPEP work. And them leave all that. Is that what going on?
All right. I hear your concern. I'm sure everybody in the world is hearing that very, very specific issue that you have. And you have made it, of course, a very emotional but a practical mission to address. Yeah.
But you will get that copy of the letter when I'm finished. You got copy of the letter. Because business have copy of the letter.
Yeah, I'll appreciate that.
All right then.
Yes. Thanks very much. Yes, indeed. We have some very emotional but committed young people, and it's a young man, yes, who has decided that he will pick up a particular issue, a particular river in the Tonopuna Regional Corporation District, where it has overgrown, and it will create, of course, problems further downstream. And he has taken up the mission, he has taken up the gauntlet and the challenge to bring it to the attention of the authorities and make certain that they remedy it. Did you hear any part of his contribution, Mr. COP? All right.
No.
Any future calls, I will use the phone and put it to the mic, so you will get an appreciation, so you could make a valid and sensible, if not logical, conclusion. Let me see if I get this one organized. I'm trying to ignore
that is something that we need to work on and fix that.
All right,
know where that problem coming from.
Let me get that organized. All right, good. All right, so
the IT specialist has some work to do.
Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
A pleasant good night to you, Uncle lENNOX, and all the listeners.
Yes.
All in sundry. A pleasant good night to each and everyone. Brother COP, I didn't have a good night tonight, but I will tell you good night.
Good night to you, Faisal.
Right, good. It means that a nice way to let us know that he's hearing. All right, good. Go ahead.
Yeah. So you see, you're all the time now.
Nah, I don't think so. I use the phone. And go ahead. I was gonna say.
With you.
All right.
To say that this person created, getting more to the grassroots. It's short in coming. The grass is tall in growing, right?
Mm.
But the work is short in coming. But the nice thing about it, right? I want to say good night to KFC, and I want to ask him to find out something from it, right? To you, we are doing this listening program. I want them to find out that the local government work, the special work zone going on, right?
Yeah.
That the workers and them, right? Mm-hmm. They're getting there for the longest while to find out if how much of them have a bank account, how much of them they name spelled properly, right? And the form followed the right way. Because if I have a set of errors on the form with misspelling, some of them don't have a bank account, right? And the ID card numbers they matching with what they have on the form.
Okay.
So I wanted to look into that because when coming to people, dollar and the bread is a serious thing. So I get a bit of a little something to know, right? And if that is so, I want to let the public know that is who is behind the mischief, right? And you know, Uncle lENNOX, I don't put water in my mouth, and COP know me. I will tell the Pope if he commit a sin, because the right way is always the right way. So I want KFC to find out that if the ID card numbers that them is correspondent, if they have the bank account number in order, and the names where they sign in the form is the proper way.
Yeah,
right?
and are you asking him in relation to his information or others generally? They just to get a gauge.
No, I wanted to find out the people who
Okay.
get paid and
Oh. So you're giving them a task. Okay. Give him a task.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right. So he certainly will. All right. I'm sure that he is listening, and he will call in to give his 2 pence, so to speak.
He's about concern, but he concerned. He want to make sure KFC get money.
Yes. And
Nice brotherhood.
KFC must appreciate that people are concerned.
Yes.
And that I'm sure that he don't want that information or give him that task for or just some superficial or some nonsensical reason. I'm sure that he has a plan behind it. And just as the young man with respect to the drain that he is concerned about, I'm sure that all of us must become, in other words, activists and let's say procurers, or put another way, stewards of Trinidad and Tobago's interests. Yes. Let's go to another. Let's go to another. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Hello, good night. Yeah, this is Mr. San Fernando.
Yes, Mr. San Fernando. Yes.
Good night to you, San Fernando.
All the listeners and all the people who listening on the World Wide Web, everything. The topic last night was a very interesting thing. But what I want to see tonight, this is a continuation of last night.
Yeah, but we are focusing on solutions here.
Right. Okay. Now, I really kind of feeling it because I will tell you. Now, I have about 2 stories to tell you.
Okay.
Right? But I'm feeling it also because of the fact that, okay, 2 weeks ago, I was by my computer looking at the program. Right?
Yeah.
Now, what I really want to talk about is short-term solutions in our situation. Sometimes it could be very difficult to find, but I know for a fact that the answer is there. Well, the answer is there, you know. You just have to not just find it, but it's there. But because, okay, 2 weeks ago, I was at the computer looking at the program, and I heard a knock at my door. Right? Now, one day, this thing is very, and it hurts to see that Trinidad has or had the money, and we just squander it like a dose of sorts.
Yes.
Right? I know some people are suffering. But there was a knock at my door 2 weeks ago whilst I was looking at the program. I had to kind of like turn off the thing for a moment and then peep. And when I peep, there was an individual outside who I knew.
Right.
Right? So, when I opened the door, this person is looking for money because he's hungry. All I had was about $25. Right? And I had to give him $50 to them. Right? Just to satisfy a need somewhat. But one saying is Lavantil also find itself in a unique position, right? Because I think, I keep saying it, we could come out of it, you know, right? And it's like, my take on it is like imposing your will on, it's like sometimes you have to impose your will on others in order to get through, right? but you have to know what you're doing also, because okay, the Chinese, now these two stories I'm going to give you, right? One is on the Chinese thing, and the other one is a situation that happened to me in that. Okay? What I'm saying is, the Chinese use like the Chinese people use like a story to tell, right? Of a big dragon with wings, right? Who was on the top of a hill, but the dragon wanted to move from one place to another,
Right.
right? But it couldn't, even though it had wings and everything, it was very heavy,
Okay.
right? But it wanted to move to go from one place to another destination, and people around were saying, nah, he can't move because he's too big and he's too heavy.
Right.
But the dragon itself, that flying object or that flying image, had the kind of strength to flap the wings.
Uh-huh.
And it kept flapping until it rose to a certain height. And then it took off. Right?
Right.
Because the dragon itself was thinking that the idea behind it, he was thinking that, nah, I can't make it because I'm too heavy, I can't do it. Right?
Yeah.
But in flapping the wings consistently, it rose up and then moved on.
Okay.
Right? So it reached the destination where it wanted to go, having done that. So
Right.
what I'm saying is, if you understand the moral of the story, right? You follow what I mean?
Yeah. Try and try. Try and try. You'll succeed at last. But go ahead.
Yeah. So, no, the social thing to that is this, I was ill at one time in my life, right? And the situation with me, it became so this is what sometimes to imposing your will on others means. It was so thing that the situation was getting a kind of little worse, because what I was doing, I was actually like, the emotional part of it was just getting me more done.
I see.
Even though I had the sickness, it was just making me feel as though I can't come out of it.
All right.
Right? And it was my father who did so, and realized, well, listen, this boy, I feel he can recover, but he not pushing it to recover.
I see.
So he had to kind of impose his will on me in a kind of emotional way to tell me, look, listen, get out of this. Get out of your bed, rise up, and come out of this situation. So he had to impose that will on me. And sometimes we need to impose our wills on people in order to get what we want.
All right.
Or for things to move forward. So what I'm saying is, Laventille find itself in a unique position where I believe, and I know this could happen, because even with the wHAT program we are doing with the wHAT program, we were strapped most times, and then we came out of it, right? So having found ourselves in a unique, you see, also too, Laventille itself is not the only place in Trinidad that, let me say, it's just concrete jungle, because you have a concrete jungle right here in San Fernando. That is Mbakade. Right? And that place, Mbakade too, is similar to Laventille in terms of, I am certain right now, right, that there are people who living in Mbakade who suffering just as bad as people in Laventille because of that concrete jungle situation.
Yeah.
So I understand the logic or the logical parts of it, but we still learning, and that's what I'm saying. Even with the document that I, right?
Yes.
With
Yes.
the communal 13 thing in Colombia, right? That place in Colombia was crime ridden. If you're reading the document so far, it was crime ridden, and the people of communal 13 turned around that situation because it was Pablo Escobar who was a big drug lord in that city, had the city crime rate. And when Pablo Escobar was killed in 1993 or something, after that, in the 90s coming down, the people of Communal 13 decided to change around things. And if they could do it, right, I'm saying that we also could do it. But I know that we need to, what Candice was talking about last night, we need to find short-term solutions, yes. Yes, because remember I just told you about the guy who was knocking on the door and I had to get him. And sometimes too, the money and all kind of satisfy the need because, you know, that person could sometimes take the money and just blow it also.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you have that, but you take it for you ain't taking it for granted. But you are hopeful that you would have lit a fire that will turn out to be a conflagration, and therefore the solution to the particular problem that had to be solved. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah. So I think that I need to come and talk to you on this further, you know.
Yes, no problem.
Because
No problem.
I asked my question. Yeah, I asked my question last night. And when I answered the question, I said that there's more library documents than that one. I
Yes.
understand that. I know that. I know that. But the answer to the problem, if you read through the lines, you will see where I'm coming from.
Yes. All right. No problem. All right. Thanks very much.
All right, okay.
Yes. Okay. Yes, indeed. COP, of course, he is speaking specifically to the concept that I raised earlier, which is all of community approach. Notice his focus is that the people saw the problem, the people decide to do something about the problem, and in fact did something about the problem. It requires, therefore, there are certain what I consider to be certain building blocks, for whatever better term, building blocks to make that happen. The first thing you have to accept as a community, not just as individuals, but the individuals will help raise the consciousness of the other members of the community. And the community, as I said, involves or includes families. And then when that part of it has materialized, then the coming together in order to trash out or to create solutions. And then the other part, of course, is how you roll out these solutions incrementally, methodologically, and, of course, strategically. And it requires, of course, a plethora of issues because, as we said, plethora of contributions, I should say, and stakeholders to buy in and then, of course, to make it happen. Again, all on board: government, private sector, civil society, the individuals, the families, the residents, etc. I often make the point, COP, and maybe you could pick up from there. I was on a Umbala program when he was alive some time ago, and we were talking about the success and the opposite non-success, the success of national, if you want to call that, NGOs such as Serval and Living Waters, as opposed to, let's say, MLIO, that is focused, of course, mainly on Laventille. And he then turned to me and said, the reason why Jerry Pantin at the time, has been so successful is because he walked the streets and hills of Laventille. And in a very dismissive, not too arrogant, but I must say contemptuous way, I told him, well, if that is so, and that he walked the streets and hills of Laventille, well, Mr. Umbala, I just sleep there. How come I am not as successful like him? So then he started to think. So there were other factors that would have created the success as opposed to the failure, if you want to call that, or the what I consider the nebulous input or impact that indigenous-based, community-based entity would have had, as opposed to a national entity whose leadership comes into the community, walk, and then go back home. But I cannot afford to walk. In fact, I am here on George Street right now, right? And still making the same claim, but I'm sure these other persons that I refer to in the upper echelons are give away the real reason. But they are able to rub shoulders with the decision makers. They are able to capture the business community, the banks, etc., and they therefore get their projects off the ground. No doubt they have a mission, they have a vision, but also it satisfies them, and only them can do that. But I'm saying that if the community-based initiative, MLIO, Archbishop Burke's program, Listra Penny, the late Morgan's cultural organization, etc., quite a lot of them, if they got the same opportunities and could rub shoulder with those in the sphere of shakers and movers in the society, certainly the equation, the equilibrium would have achieved, and you would have seen who is better fitted to address the problem as opposed to those who from the outside decides to come in, but the problem continues to fester like an open sore. COP.
When the MILO programs today, that's supposed to be in the 41 constituency in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. If given that opportunity, it would have been in the 41 constituency. And the time may pass. This government have the greatest opportunity now to give the MILO the opportunity to go forward in life. If given the opportunity, the MILO will go forward. But the denial of the MILO will reach nowhere. And we have to ask with plenty of respect for that opportunity to start off in your constituency. Lenox Smith. And Lenox Smith, going back to the communities and the solutions. These communities and the elders and them have to take responsibility. The elders and them, if the elders and them change the attitude, the way they think about the development of the community, they will have a better community. I'm not going to even blame the 16-year-old boy who was misled and indulged in crime and violence, and I'm not even going to blame me. I am blaming the elders and them that keep a blind eye for all these years. Keep a blind eye to the things that matters, to the future of your community. You are the one that responsibility. And this, all of that, them responsible for that. This government have a constitutional responsibility to be the role model now in those communities and them, and give those shadows, MPs and them, the one who fight under this general election and have good intentions for the community. Start to let those be the shadow MPs and give them support to multiply those numbers on them. You need to give them that support, that opportunity to multiply those numbers on them, and time to change the environment at the community. The only time the environment will change is by the leaders and them who have good intention, by them giving the opportunity from the state, fulfill the manifestos, by assisting every constituency and every community.
Yes, indeed. If I was close to you, my friend, I would have shaken your hand. Not like, of course, the Mighty Sparrow song about the Congo man, but certainly that is not the reason. But I would shake hand because it makes a lot of common sense. And I'll tell you this.
It is how we was designed to think as human being.
Yes. And there are, I like to nestle my argument in something very practical or would have been an experience. At the end of 1991, of course, I am talking here about the NAR administration. After recognizing what we would have done as a community, for the community, by the community, evolved by the community. In fact, Mr. Robinson, the late Prime Minister, said, Mr. Smith, I remember very distinctly, not quite apart from the fact that you bring my whole cabinet up here and the whole world in Laventille, because he had ambassadors from whichever country right there sitting when we launched our MLIO initiative. But he said something critical. He says self-initiative, self-help, self-motivation is something that every government must seek out. And his government was all about that, especially in circumstances where the road seemed to be murky. The road to what? To development, to advancement, to capacity building, to infrastructural development, and of course the implementation of modern, what one will call utilities, whether it be water, whether it be electricity, etc. But he went further. By the time 1991 came around, and after, of course, the 1990 coup, he brought together all of the parliamentary, PSs, meaning that permanent secretaries, in specific or strategic ministries together to look at the MLIO program and its advancement towards, of course, implementation in other communities. And I was extremely elated and expecting as well as optimistic. And the terms of reference to these PSs, those permanent secretaries, because those are the, let's say, the superior officers in any ministry. They make things happen or not make it happen if they so desire. And of course, they are the ones to roll out government policy because the public service remains whilst parties come in office and go as governments, but certainly the PSs, the public servants remain to, of course, manage the affairs and to assist the policy directions, whether new or otherwise, of the incoming government. So here what? The terms of reference included buildings to accommodate the organization, funding to address the various capital needs of the organization, looking at the technical and vocational skills offered and how to improve it without interfering with the methodology that we would have developed over the many years of practice and implementation. And quite a variety and array of issues. In other words, to bring MLIO to the level of Serval at minimum, if I have to make a comparison. And you know what? Soon after the election was called, and of course the NAR demitted office. Okay, he lost the elections, and in came the PNM under Patrick Manning, and I was very meticulous and particular to see that that particular initiative started by Robinson continued by the succeeding PNM administration led by Patrick Manning. And we went and we had meetings, etc. And I remember very distinctly on that particular matter in terms of engagement of the new government. And we got a commitment that the status quo will remain. In other words, we expect that they will pursue and continue the initiative from the last administration as far as MLIO is concerned. And we got that through strategizing. I remember asking Wade Mark, who was a senator at the time, to raise the issue, our opposition senator obviously, but to raise the issue of MLIO in the parliament. And we got a commitment in the parliament. I think the succeeding Minister of Social Development was Dr. Linda Babulal. I can't forget that, because these are experiences. And the commitment was made, the little 13,000 that we were getting every month. We expected that to increase if the status quo had remained and the PNM had continued with the PSs being part of that committee to look at all aspects of MLIO. Well, I want to tell you that while we got those assurances and having met with the Prime Minister then, Patrick Manning, the entirety of the initiative was constructively, let me repeat, was constructively ignored. The monies were taken away. The opportunity to interact with ministers and the PSs were taken away. And we ended up in a situation where the level of retrogression was so deep, was so devastating, that I threatened to close down, or we, the team of leaders of MLIO, threatened to close down the program. And because it had reached a certain level prior to the advent of the Manning administration, I remember Maurice Marshall calling and saying, because we had access very regularly to the media, and so we were able to make a case in the media, and he called me to a meeting at our Fernandez compound office. He brought, of course, Father Harvey as well, and it was very interesting because he was only concerned with an attempt to really sideline the organization, because he wanted us to show him how to set up a parallel MLIO on the hill where Serval was, and I assisted in Serval giving them the Maurice Marshall Foundation, the building up there. And after that, they told me in uncertain terms, to cut a long story short, listen, Smith, you will be taken care of. But we want to get your experience, the knowledge, where the MLIO will be going, how it was able to reach the level at which it would have reached. In other words, they were attempting to plagiarize. And I sensed that, my people sensed that. And when they told me that, Smith, you will be taking care of, both Father Harvey and Maurice Marshall was leading that, but there were other members of the team that Maurice Marshall, put together. It says, Smith, you'll be taking care of. I turned and told them, I know that. I have no fear of that. My concern is those persons who worked with me. And I think that, and then I did say to them, when Father Harvey asked a question, because that needs to be known, Laventil, understand where people would have had to sacrifice and suffer, and those who would have, and they continue so to do, nestled in the PNM and want to continue to stymie you or to hoodwink you and befriending you at this point in time and saying that they don't like we and all of that kind of hogwash. It is pure propaganda and self-serving, what I consider to be ambulatory babblings. Let me conclude this part of it because it's emotional to me. Father Harvey asked me if MLIO was an accident, let me repeat, if MLIO was an accident or something we stumbled upon, I don't see any difference between an accident and something we stumbled upon. In other words, he never thought that it was as a result of studiously looking at the Laffontville question and our young people and going astray and finding an institution that could accommodate all of that. He couldn't see that. So I had to go academically, and I told him, well, listen, if you believe or if you think or you have any notion that this thing is by accident, well, I will tell you that we studied Ivan Illich, the schooling theory. Of course, as a priest, he would know Ivan Illich, who was a priest that talked about, of course, teachers coming from an environment that they are so naturally committed to that they are the ones that are supposed to be teachers. So that is how we recruited our teachers. A fellow no woodwork, but he wants to teach. He has the passion to teach. We give him a little test, and of course we put him into the system after we would have given him certain instructions as to how to deal with these young people. And that is how it turned out. But I want to say this finally. The document that Maurice Marshall and Father Harvey came up with was this, that they are recommended a 7-man board, let me just make sure, seven-man board, 6 from MLIO and 6 from the Maurice Marshall, which was in its initial stage of its nascent stage, its embryonic stage. So it was nothing, it was just an idea. But they formed it on paper. 6 from MLIO, a well-established entity, and 6 from an entity that they want to establish and try to merge and to benefit from our experience. But here what got us pissed off. He said 6 from MLIO, 6 from the Maurice Marshall Foundation, but the seventh position must be chairman, and they must have the chairmanship. You know what I say? Yeah, that's what he did. So when we sat down and we watched it, we said, well, this is a invasion. This is a coup. You know what I mean? From outside, this is a belligerence, an attack. You know, in the business world, it's called hostile takeover. You know, and we told them in no uncertain terms that we were not prepared so to do. In retrospect, in reminiscent, best I had said yes and see how it would have taken us, at least the level at which we were at the time. I don't know if it would have been much more if it evolved into a national program, because Maurice Marshall had some clout in the administration at the time and so on. But that is now water under the bridge. But we told him in no uncertain terms, because I was concerned about the other foundation members, the other pioneers that toiled and brought MLIO to where it was. And here it is, these fellas just come and wanted to totally dismantle and to get rid of. And my level of loyalty is one that is based on justice, fairness, and what is right. And I couldn't do it. So therefore, the entire thing died a natural death.
Lennox,
right? Go ahead, my friend.
It died a natural death because you were supporting the United National Congress and the PNM. They like your agenda. They like your program. They want your history. They want your knowledge. But you are a UNC. And all of them know that you are a UNC, so you could not go forward. And when people speak like how you speak there just now, in every action, there's a reaction. And my reaction is, how would you feel to know that as a leader of the coalition of interest, 1 year passed, 1 year and a few months passed, almost 6 months, and the opportunity is not there for the MILO or for any programs in your community, your constituency, as a leader, as leader of the coalition of interest. These are things that we have to take serious. These are things that if let me put it this way, in my view, if Leonard don't get the opportunity for his organization and his community, it will reach nowhere. And you have the greatest opportunity, and the state have the greatest opportunity to work with that collusion of interest with all the leaders and them, and let those dreams come true. That's how I see it.
Marvelous assessment, my friend, because very early, that was the agenda, that was the trajectory. It has not yet fully manifested itself, but that has been the discussion at very high levels, I'm going to put it that way. But of course, everything requires time, but there is a time as well where the life cycle of time itself would have expired. I'm saying that it is nearing expiration because there's a need to treat with these matters now as a matter of urgency, especially when one hears that 13,000 is coming out of school right now, permanently. The fact that there is a burgeoning problem in terms of crime and criminality, violence, and young people, and the fact that MyLab and other programs like that is nestled in the, let's say, the architecture of the government in terms of its response to the very kind of young persons that we have been engaged with, and very successfully so. And you close it down because of cost and other inhibiting factors, then there is a dire need to now swing the pendulum in favor of a program like that is still relevant and can contribute nationally and be cost effective. I had cause, for example, to examine live sports, and off the cuff I could have said that program would fail. Off the cuff I could have said so when I saw the involvement of certain elements in the society which MLIO had and was exposed to these very elements, but never took them on board as essential components of the MLIO initiative. And nobody, we volunteered. We didn't have the support of the state, millions of dollars, but we knew that if you are attempting to solve the problem of young people and gravitating to a kind of conduct and attitude that is not conducive to productivity and being a productive individual and to the community itself, then you should not engage. And if you are engaging, you have to engage from what some people would say, a long spoon. Feed them with a long spoon. A pot spoon, if you want to call it that. And
you have to engage.
That is what we did. That's what we did.
You have to engage with the right intention.
That's right. What we did, as opposed to the live sports, they brought in those elements and make them lecturers and have them motivational speakers and so on. Recruiters of those who, at the end of the day, their conduct will not and has not benefited the society and their own community and themselves. You can't do that. In other words, You cannot tell those who have been convicted in the prison, I'm using that as an analogy, and are bent on engaging the society from a subterranean perspective, meaning that they are engaged in, of course, in the crime and criminality and so on, and tell him to go and teach those persons who he too is targeting to continue the legacy of crime and criminality. It can't work. It's like water and oil. It's like water on duck back. It will just... And we knew all of that. So therefore, how they became... But we know too that they are part of the community. And I want to commend Live Sports for recognizing that. But Live Sports should not have engaged them as intrinsic elements and components of the program. That's my only problem with that program, because I'll tell you, when we would have engaged these very elements, we engage them in a manner that will preserve the integrity of what we are doing and make certain that these young persons do not fall victim to persons like them, and at the same time make their contribution to the community themselves and the society. And how we did it, we sent it to these persons, whether it be Sean Francis, whether it be Rennie Paul, we send them letters, invited them to send 2 persons, it doesn't matter who, on scholarship to our program. Notice we didn't ask them to come and lecture. No. We asked them to send 2. So in that way, we give them the opportunity to feel good. And even though we know that the 2 that are coming will be 2 of their disciples, but at least we have disciples that we can change. But if you invite Sean Francis to be a lecturer in your program, and the same person who we are trying to get on the straight and narrow and away from a life of crime, and you see Sean Francis there, and you will say, well, look, crime paying, and you would say, well, best I try to be a Sean Francis. Not so. So you have
Sean
to
Francis
eliminate that. Yeah, you have to eliminate that. So that is the strategy we adopted. Many people don't know that. And as the days and months and years evolve, you're gonna know more. Because it was not a right here, hairy-fairy, helter-skelter, willy-nilly program. Well structured. To meet what? To meet the reality that here it is, you have vulnerable young people, but are still malleable, meaning that they could still change, but you have to get them in the environment to effect that change, the learning and teaching environment, in other words, and then teach them how to become a change maker in themselves by changing themselves, and become leaders, but for positivity. And we believe that we have been extremely successful, especially when I see them owning their own businesses, when I see them in the police service and the army, when I see them working on the ports and other major private entities such as Guardian. I was shocked when I saw one in Guardian, a newspaper I'm talking about, Neil & Massey, Toyota, etc. That is how it was. And that's the plan. And I have a difficulty with these harebrained, what I consider to be ignoramus, who believe that they could just come up with an idea just so, ignore the hard and fast rule of experience being the best teacher, and believe they could implement a program and it will be successful. Targeting the particular youth that we are concerned about. And who is that youth? And we have defined them. Any parent come to us, we say, listen, you know the youth that cannot go to Serval. Because people believe that Serval and the MLIO program is one and the same. No. The youth that cannot go to Serval, or Serval will not matriculate, will not take in. And let me tell you how we define that youth. The young man or woman who is engaged or either has the potential to engage in crime and criminality. Very, very simple. And very poignant. Very, very, very firm and specific. That is the youth we are dealing with. And the government, over the years, some 50 programs that they would have invented. I'm talking about from wHAT, we'll go right back to MyLap, MyTap, Yap, Yappa, you name it. Let me tell you this. Those programs were fundamentally designed to treat with that young man or young woman that I just spoke of. Fundamentally. But unfortunately, with quite a lot of money being expended or spent, as the present government has realized, and I'm sure that is what is happening there, because the problem that you want to solve continues to escalate. So therefore, you know you're spinning top in mud. So I'm saying that that kind of youth will not go to a MyLap, MyTap, you name it, all the programs that I'm talking about. They will not go there. They will not go to even Citizen Conservation Corps programs. No. So it's a special group of persons that you have, your program must be tailored for in order to capture them, and it must go with your definition. And no young man who have 5 subjects, even though we took in some of them because of the parental, let's say, insistence and the emotions and so on, we took them in. But you have to be either engaged or had the potential to engage in crime. That is what was the criteria to get into MLIO program. I will, of course, roll out to some of the initiatives within and the experiences. And I could say safely here, I say some 90% of our graduates or our inductees.
So you had was to do something illegal, who are intention of doing something illegal to get into your program.
That's right. and that was left to the parents, because there are parents who will come and tell us, listen, I can't talk to that boy again, Lucky in primary school now, and so on, so on, so on. So you have them, you will know them. And I mean, experience will, as again, tell you what is what. When you on a typical morning, when you travel from Piccadilly Greens over the hills into Mova, because the Laventon Road winds its way right into Mova near Chinnapu there. It ends in Chinnapu there. You would see on every block young people just liming, playing the fool, etc., etc., etc. And those are the ones that you want to capture, because eventually they will gravitate. And let me tell you this. The community itself benefited from the presence, not this current group that have violence and, of course, violent wars and killing and so on as part of the...
What the elders or what they allow.
But what they used to do, long time, they used to be gambling on these very corners and so on, or in the bush or something. Wapi and so on, playing Wapi. But they were functional in the sense that if the police looking for somebody and they come to them, they would say they don't know. And it has a benefit and yet still a negative, because if a nurse come to look for someone to deliver some medicine, they will say the same thing. They don't know where that person is, unless you in the house, you the owner of the residence, give instructions. Yes, let that person come. So they were a protector of the community, in other words, not what we are seeing today. And therefore, your program must evolve to address that situation, and we have done it. We have tweaked our program to treat with that. In fact, I want to tell you one of the things we did, and I'm still going to pursue it. These days, money is not as fluent as I would like, even though it was never fluent, but I simply cannot do it. I would have at least 2 to 3 vehicles in my possession. Now I only have 1 because the other 2 break down, and I had to sell 1 because of the constraints that I have. But the point I'm making here is, Granny and others who qualify, let's say, for their old age pension, can't come out because of the borderline issue that has evolved. So what you do as a community serious activist, you go into the community. So we have decided a three-prong approach for young people who may be qualified and cannot come out. We go in and take them up, and we find, of course, a solution to that problem, including, of course, having them pick up residence by some family in some other community so that they could work and come back home not expecting to die. Where there are people who have qualification in terms of the age, 65 years, we go in and we fill out the form for them, etc., etc. And we hope that we'll get the cooperation of the relevant ministry to accommodate those forms, because we would have put it together. And it's not for the first time. And that is why I am so much yearning, so much anxious to really work with the agencies to treat with these problems, because it is solvable, as you rightly said. They are solvable, but you have to be able to bite the bullet. Sorry, no pun meant on the bullet talk, because it's violence we talk about. But you have to bite the bullet. You have to know what you're doing, and you have to design and adapt to your project in order to treat with that. Let me end by saying this. I remember very distinctly every weekend, the teachers, because you know how the teachers were, I explained how the teachers would have been recruited. Fellas who want to teach bad and we train them and we put them in the system to deliver, of course, the content material. And let me tell you this, every teacher and those young people who are under their charge have to visit the homes of every single student that is in their class, if you want to call it that. Yeah, in their class. On a weekend. So, this weekend we decided to visit a particular home. Why? Because we gave a young man a letter to take to his parents, telling the parent to come to the school. We want to talk with you because this young man is obviously misbehaving and it's unacceptable. Guess what? He didn't know that we coming home by him. He didn't know. And one thing we did, we make certain that we got correct addresses and know who. And I'll tell you how we did that as well. Who is in charge of this young man? Anyhow, or young lady. That is for a different story. I want to end with this one. So we gone home by him. He living, of course, in St. Barb's, very, very steep hill. And we drove and we walked and we entered the gate. When we entered the gate, house a little lower down, we happened to see at that time, I think it was about 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, we happened to see the same young man jumping through a window. Jumping through a window. And made good his escape. I don't think he saw us, but it appears that that's what he's accustomed doing. Anyhow, when we went into the building, the gallery, open space, we saw an elderly lady, and one time we knew what was happening. We understood what was happening there. But anyhow, you will glean from it what I have to say next. So we introduced ourselves, kindly and so on, and with the normal, decorum, good morning, etc. I said, well, you are, she said, yes, I am his grandmother. So we asked the obvious question, where is his biological parents? Them in the States. Them in the States understand what is happening here. So he could afford to tell me that, listen, if he carried that letter of notice to come to the school, my mother would tear it up. And he also knows that Granny is incapable physically of coming to the school. He knows that too. Because when we ask her, listen, where is so-and-so? You know what she told us? He inside. That time he gone. Because we saw him climbing through a window. We happened to be there at the appropriate time to see that. So the next day, of course, we were able to treat with that matter in a particular way because he was shocked to know that we came home. He was shocked to know that people love him to the extent that they will go to that degree, a whole blasted school coming to you to see what is happening so that we could adjust and make the necessary adjustments. But there is more to all of that. There is more to all of that as to why we were able, and Robinson was able to make that decision to have PSs look at our program. And Robinson was the only prime minister that every month, almost, he would come and see hundreds of parents, students, and well-wishers and members of the community sitting in very inhospitable conditions in a warehouse, one of the big warehouses that you see. The first one, in fact, on your right-hand side, that is where the school was, in Fernando's compound. I end here because there's so much more that will make people shiver as to how the hell we were able to be so damn successful with that kind of youth that still exists out there in the gangs, engaged in criminal activities, potential and real, and we accommodate them without judging them, but making them understand that people love them, but love by itself will not be sufficient, and there are other things that you have to put into the mix in order to treat with that. And as I said, I was disappointed with live sports from that perspective, and that huge amount of money. If I had that kind of money, boy, I clean up the whole of Trinidad already and Tobago. Clean it up in terms of our approach. Let me say this too, that a program like that cannot be run by a government agency, because there are some things that you will have to do that the formal school system will not be able to stomach, will not be able to accommodate, because you have unions and all of that and so on and so forth. So it has to be a program that is unorthodox. We understood that, but we were able to bring those students into orthodoxy in the sense that they are now able to conform, make their contribution, stay away from crime, etc. There are those that we would have lost. That is why I say some 90%. It ain't going to be 100%. I'm not going to waste time and fool anybody. But the fact is, if it was not for that intervention, the situation would have been worse. And the longer the government stays to engage those who know and understand what we are dealing with, the longer it will take for a sustainable solution to the problem of these young people gravitating to a life of crime, borderline issues, gang warfare, etc. It will be much more difficult, I must say, having regard to what is now out there. But if we would have been able to save one, we would have done the work of God. Yes, my friend, I think I have lectured enough. I've lectured enough.
No, it's good to listen. It's good to listen to you speak, so because you speak with passion for your community. You know, I like to sit down and listen, because I will learn a lot too. But programs like these will work, and it will work with assistance from government. It will work, and programs like this supposed not just the MILO. It's supposed to be in all those constituencies and them. Programs
That's
like
right.
this supposed to
And
be run.
I expect a national program to evolve. And that is why I thought that a year and more, that we shouldn't be playing or toying with
Programs
the
like
level
this.
of fire that these young people could unleash. I am, you know, as I said,
Programs like
things are
this,
happening.
lENNOX,
Yeah, go ahead.
supposed to be billing all them primary school seats and bench and thing. Programs like this
That's
supposed to be
right.
billing.
That's what we.
Programs like this supposed to be billing all them HGC garbage bins and corporation bins and
That is what we were
school bins
doing,
and
self-sustaining and self-sustaining. We bill you, we find the funds in order to sustain the program. That's
taxpayers is paying contractors millions and hundreds of millions of dollars to build them things, when we could have these kind of programs and them informing and educating the children and them in carpentry and masonry and fabricating and woodwork and all these things. This is what we need to be doing. We save a lot of money. The children and them have good facilities to sit down in and things. And we save a lot of money, and we own people that. But the PNM Marathon are going to give friends and family and big contractor and billions of
all
dollars.
they wanted to know is Lennox Smith's political attachment. They didn't care about those youths of them who today are the product maybe of other youths, because I mean the program is over 30.
Well, them show that they didn't care. Them show that they didn't care. But you have an organization that you support. And I am saying what I am saying over here is for the organization to show appreciation now. Now's the time for you to show appreciation.
Well, could you sorry, yes, but could you of course acknowledge some of those persons who are on the chat and so on, and let them know that of course like of course view subscribe,
share the live, subscribe, and everybody on the live and the chat. Good night. I'm not on my phone right now to be watching all the names and things, but I know it's about a good few hours, about maybe 100 and something right now. Good night. Thanks for being on the corridor transformation. I always appreciate that, welcome that, and my whole passion is to see the numbers grow up and to see the corridor transformation just grow, because this is the only UNC. This is the only UNC activist and them program. I don't want to say this is a UNC program. It's not no UNC program. But this is the only UNC activists and them that have a program from Monday to Thursday. All the other program and have, that is not no UNC program. That is PNM people playing UNC. When they get things their way from the PNM, they come to play UNC and come to become successful to bypass the UNC activists and them supporters outside there. You all know the UNC activists and them, and you know the deceitful PNM people them who want to be UNC activists now. Locked on the corridor transformation. This is the UNC activists.
You must be discerning, and I want to say it is what 2 minutes to the hour of 10 o'clock. Well, let me conclude with this video. I think it will put in perspective what I have said and encapsulate not just the intent, but the practicality. That picture you're seeing there is Nizam Mohammed, the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, when the unfortunate circumstance of the 1990 coup occurred. And what he has to say is an endorsement or a testimony as to what I have just outlined to you, as to the ethos, the genesis, the purpose, the vision and the intention of the program called MLIO Initiative. Listen to him, and you will go to sleep comfortable and comforted, knowing that there is a sleeping giant waiting in the wings to address this burning problem, this almost intractable problem. And when you hear the law enforcement agencies, for example, and I had to act as a mocker this morning, when, of course, the Assistant Commissioner of Police talked about crime is on the decline, murders in particular. And then he tells us that compared to the same time last year, 7 less murders this year. And tells us
They
that.
make history.
I mean, come on.
That's history, right? That's history.
Yeah, but that is not, the issue itself is not a police or law enforcement solving one. It is not for them to solve that. It's the community itself must solve that. That's the only way it could be sustained. To say, to get a anecdote here and an anecdote there and a morsel there and a modicum there of success just to justify your relevance. No, the police has a specific job. It's a multiplicity of issues. It is multifaceted, multidimensional, and the police is simply not equipped to treat with that. It is only the community and the consciousness of those in the community, and of course getting that to be spread sufficiently, mushroom sufficiently, will solve the problem on a sustained basis. Listen to Nizam Mohammed as he commended the MLIO, consequential of what we did subsequent to the 1990 coup. Listen.
As soon as stability was restored to the country, the Speaker's task was to restore the Red House.
After all was over and done, the Red House was in a total mess. The desecration was indescribable. You had dead bodies that had to be taken out, but what remained behind was the stench, and the Red House was really turned upside down, not to talk about the condition of the chamber. Again, bad as things were in terms of the economy, we could have called in one of the ministries to see about cleaning up and that, the initial cleaning up and all of that. However, I invited the people of Laventille to come and assist with the cleaning up. People came to the chamber from as far off as Faizabad to assist in that initial cleaning up process. The mace was badly damaged, and we had to get expert help in order to restore the mace in the that was in the parliament at the time. And the people of Laventille, through an organization which I remember as MLIO, Morval Laventille Improvement Organization. They were the ones who put the bill for the repairs to the mace. And others as well, we appealed for people to make contributions to, towards the restoration of the Parliament Chamber and the Red House. It is not that the government would have been unable to find the money, but again, we wanted to, I wanted to involve the people.
Yes. So there you have it. I mean, his history is a little twisted from my recollection, is I wrote him and the president of the Senate at the time, Emmanuel Carter, saying that because the Laventille community, young men contributed in the main to that invasion of our democracy, to try to overthrow a government by violence. We want to show and demonstrate that all of us are not of that ilk. And as a form of repentance, if you want to call it that, as a form of our resistance to such acts of violence against a sitting elected government, we commit our program, the MLIO program, because we had welders, we had carpenters, we had masons, etc. We volunteered to clean the chambers of the Red House. And when we realized that the two maces of Parliament, that instrument that the Marshal of the Court precedes the Speaker or the President, in the case of the Senate, that golden and that silver, something, an oversized baton, if you want to call it that, but in gold and silver, that. And when you put it in a particular position in the houses, it means that Parliament is in session. That is how significant that is. And when we saw that it was cracked up and parts of it missing, we said, and the government was saying at the time, listen, we have to send it to England to fix. We say no. We did it. Our children did it. Created this mess. And we must locally, domestically, indigenously rectify the situation. That is what we did. And we told both Speaker and the President of the Senate, Emmanuel Carter at the time, and they both agreed that we will find a way to have it repaired right here in Trinidad. And we will take and launch a contribution mechanism to pay for it. And it so happened, in pursuing that course, Why Dilemma was approached. And it turned out that Goldsmith from Movant was working there, and he volunteered. He said, yes, I could fix that. I could fix that. And on our request and the agreement of the Parliament, I mean, this is big thing we're talking about. These are the two maces of Parliament, a significant symbol of our democracy. And they sent it by escort, of course. Police like hell. It's like if they were escorting some van with money coming from some country, some boat. Yeah, you see vehicles. You see police. Because that is our democracy we are talking about, moving there. And why Dilemma took them, and the gentleman repaired them to the satisfaction of both the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nizam Mohammed, and that of Emmanuel Carter. And they said, well done. In fact, they were supposed to do a replica of each one, a small one, to give it to us as a token, to MLIO as a token. But they had security issues. So they took a picture of both of them and presented it to us right in Laventille there, right in that dirty place, right in that awful warehouse, right there. Robinson, the Speaker, all of them came up and they presented it. Over time, it has lost. That is something I really cherish. I don't know where the copy is, where that was given to us. But it was handed to us in that form because they really wanted to bring up the finished product. But they said, nah, security risk too much issues. That's to tell you how serious that piece, those two items are to our democracy and our legislature. Yeah, and right up there, those pictures were handed to us. I received them by Robinson. And of course, Emmanuel Carter and Nizam Mohammed in the audience observing. That is what we did. That is what we did, people. Laventil did that. We did that. And a program like that, you don't see it fit to say, listen, let me give it at least a try. Quickly is the operating word. You can't lose. You can't lose. But we did that. And after that, we were given special invitation every time Parliament convenes. It's only when the PNM came in, all of that was lost. Well, I have cause to write to the current presiding officers, telling them about the history. And now that we are about 7 days from this and the anniversary of the attempted coup, well, I am going to write them again, asking for that privilege. Just as when they invite ambassadors and so on, they should be inviting MLIO as an organization. Because in the commission of inquiry that was initiated by Kamala Prasad Bissessa, the current prime minister, during her term 2010 to 2015, the commission of inquiry said that they recommend a specially mint coin or some emblem to justifiably recognize and commend those who made contributions to the restoration of our democracy. And if you read that part of the report of the Commission of Inquiry, it's still there, it's online, you would see to the bottom, among all the government agencies, the army, the police, the fire service, etc., and the other individual, Makomi and all, who was on air all that time, you would see the organization MLIO, Mobile Laventil Improvement Organization, recommended for an award, not yet given. I'm sure in the fullness of time, this administration will have to focus on that because there are other anniversaries to recognize and to celebrate. And we will be right there to get our recognition. That is what we did. That is what is possible. How the hell? The country is awash with young people who are going astray all over the place. 3 killed only last Saturday in Laventil. And you're still fidgeting? You're still wondering? Without giving an opportunity to those who know and have experienced it? Well, Nizam Mohammed had to, of course, make the obvious comment, recognizing.
We could have called in one of the ministries to see about cleaning up and that, the initial cleaning up and all of that. However, I invited the people of Laventil to come and assist with the cleaning up. People came to the chamber from as far off as Hyderabad.
We organized that. We right here in Laventil organized that.
Cleaning up process. The mace was badly damaged, and we had to get expert help in order to restore the mace in the that was in the parliament at the time. And the people of Laventil, through an organization which I remember as MLIO, and the people of Laventil through an organization which I remember as MLIO, and the people of Laventil through an organization which I remember as MLIO, Morval Laventil Improvement Organization. Morval Laventil Improvement Organization, MLIO. Morval Laventil Improvement Organization. They were the ones who foot the bill for the repairs to the mace. And others as well. We appealed for people to make contributions to, towards the restoration of the Parliament Chamber and the Red House. It is not that the government would have been unable to find the money, but again, we wanted to, I wanted to involve the people.
Yes, indeed, people. We have come to the end. It's a very serious time. And those with the capacity and ability must be allowed, once they are so willing, to take the forefront to treat with these problems. And I've often said, during the PNM time, lENNOX is prepared to work for free for this government, not the PNM. That is why I never approached the PNM, because I think that they have lost their sense of nationality, they have lost their sense of patriotism, and that they have morphed or metamorphosized into a criminal enterprise manifested in that diabolical symbol called Balisé House, which is the subject today of course, I would say criminal, but some prefer to say civil inquiry. Nonetheless, it is before the courts.
Criminal investigation.
Criminal investigation. All right, good. I would accept that comment from you and sharing it with you. Yes, indeed. So, people, we have come to the end of tonight's program. COP, of course, let's hear your closing remarks as we make our departure.
Good night, Nadia. Good night, jULY. jULY, good night, good night, good night to everybody else on the chat. Good night, good night, good night, good night. To your family, good night. To Josh, good night to you, Josh. Stay blessed, stay good, stay hydrated, stay comfortable. Speak your mind. You see effects in your community. You have a responsibility to ask the leaders and them and the MPs in your constituency. Speak and ask them. You're doing nothing wrong. You do nothing wrong when you highlight the effects of your community. You're doing nothing wrong. You continue doing that. Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, indeed. People, don't forget, of course, that tomorrow morning the ground report continues, of course, Andy, myself, and Snipes from 6 to 9 o'clock only on Talk City. You won't see us on any other medium, whether it be Corridor or that of Real Media TT. We have discontinued that. We are solely and totally 91.1, of course, a member of the TTT, let's say, a group of media. And but we are on the Talk City side from 6 to 9. Just plug in, log on.
You know, Lennox. Let me just say this now. How about years now you on the ground report?
To so much I can't recall. But
after all those years, after all them years working for free on the ground report, then after the ground report no exists again.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah, well, the Real Media, we will find other work for Real Media that could make some money at least. So we have
agree with that.
So we have given way to Talk City because they want to build
Let me work on corridor
their
transformation
listenership-
first.
their listenership, etc. And we will leave them alone, but we will rule the nights. We will rule
I
the
agree.
time. All right.
I agree.
When Josh comes on around 5:30, they're about pretty soon.
The UNC activists and them will rule the night.
That's right. That's the continuation of a real. They cannot keep good people down. Yes, people. And so have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. Bye bye.
Welcome to On the Mount.
Extra,
all
extra,
we're
read all
going on
about
with
it. Badness out of style. Hey yo, youth man, bring me that paper.
As soon as
Wow.
stability was
Say
restored,
too much borderline. Man and man fear to walk down in the next man vicinity. It's borderline. Why all the Satan wickedness in the poor man community? It's borderline. Say man and man fear to walk down in the next man vicinity. It's borderline. Why the Satan wickedness in the poor man community? So you say that you're a bad man. How much gun you got? You love to bust gunshot. Well, I say you must be mad man. No one have time for that. You're a idiot. And let me hear it from the voices in the ghetto. Badness out the style, sing it again and let me hear it echo. Badness out the style. Don't want no bad man groups, no more bad man troops coming to rob and shoot. We should be taking time to nurture the youth. Say you remember we're going with Sean Luke. Somebody cross the borderline. No man and man fear to walk down in the next man vicinity. It's borderline. Why all the Satan wickedness in the poor man community? It's borderline. Man and man fear to walk down in the next man vicinity. It's borderline. Why all the Satan wickedness in the poor man community? Tell the youth in the go Martin when they should be asleep. Stop roaming to murder man. And in the hills of Maraval, since they murder Malik, everything get out of hand. Now let me hear it from the voices in the ghetto. Badness out of style, say it again and let me hear it echo. Badness out the style. I see them with them attic. Every day them a chuck it. Some have it in them pocket, while some of them under them jacket. If a shadow move them crack it. The breeze blow them shot it. A full time them stop it. Too much a borderline. Well man and man fear to walk down in the next man vicinity. It's borderline. Why all the Satan wickedness in the poor man community? It's borderline. Well, man and man fear to walk down in the next man vicinity. It's borderline. Too much hate and wickedness in the poor man community. Well, put the front page in the paper from Sando to Arima. Make sure every man get one. And tell the youth them in La Hakita, put down the automatic. We no want no more blood run. And let me hear it from the people in the ghetto. Badness out the style, sing it again and let me hear it echo. Badness out the style, tell the youth them on the beat, all of them were acting wild. Badness out the style, tell the youth them over Brooklyn, keep them name of a policeman file. Badness out the style, go tell the liquor school youth when I want no delinquent juvenile. Badness out the style, and all the rude boys with the screw face, a full time them put on a smile.